on, babies.
I was not in a great mood until about 2 seconds ago when Ray's stupid giddy face perked up at the sight of Roman Anthony's sister. Welcome to Semi Sports Show. The Red Sox their hands were forced to bring up the future of the franchise, the number one prospect in baseball. Of course, I'm talking about Roman Anthony. Made his major league debut, and his sister made the internet debut, and the place went wild.
She was ready for the moment.
Yeah, she knew what she was doing. The hand was forced with injuries. We've declared war on the Red Sox this year for good reason, and we're going to talk more about that, why, again, their hands were forced here to bring Roman Anthony up. But nevertheless, we are here. We're not going backwards on this because the kid looks ready for the moment, except if he's taking ground balls in right field. But before we do that, we're going to talk to Mr. Mahlon Williams, the Season 2, Episode 7 winner of Pros vs. Joes, and, of course, founder of and CCO of Fan Favorite, a.k.a. I Love Boston Sports, your favorite Boston sports apparel. We're going to get to him in just a second, but as we always do, let's do some opening takes. Raymond, if you could.
Absolutely, Richard. Imagine living out your childhood dream, being called up to the majors, not only being your franchise top prospect, but all of MLB, just to have your moment stolen by your sister in the red. And just, the internet is ablaze right now. She is all over it. No one's talking about Roman Anthony anymore. They're all talking about Lila Anthony because she was turning heads everywhere you look. Neston was pointing her out all over the place. And then Rich did one better and sent me this, and I've been a busy man all afternoon, thanks to Richard. So, yeah, thank you, Roman Anthony, and thank you to the Anthony family for making my afternoon a delight.
Good genes there in the Anthony family.
We absolutely know why the Red Sox were delaying this, because they knew this was going to happen.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
They knew.
I believe her name is Leah, not Lila. But
well, whatever. Do you think I care about what her name is?
Bob, your opening take.
It is June, and that is NBA rumor season about all the different trades and where players are going. Will Kevin Durant get traded again? Where will Jimmy Butler go? And of course, the newest trade rumor, Jaylen Brown swapping for Giannis. Now, let me tell you, why would we do that? Why would we swap our self-righteous jerk for theirs? Let's just keep ours. It doesn't seem like it's much of a move here. We'll just piss off everybody. Giannis is just a souped-up version of Jaylen. They do the same thing. Why trade him? Let's just keep our guy. Let's make this simple here, guys. Why do we talk about these things? Can we talk about something else? Let's talk about Roman Anthony's sister. That's better.
Okay, Celtics fans, stick around for when I shove Bobby into a locker for showing you how much of a jerk Jaylen Brown is not. And as we've chronicled,
I don't believe any of that.
As we've chronicled on the show multiple times, Giannis Antetokounmpo is rising the charts of dickheads in professional sports. So you might want to take that back in a short while. I'll go. My opening take is very quick. It's very short. It's very to the point. Is Drake May good? Not sure. We'll find out. Guess we'll find out.
Wow,
but anybody who says that he is, certainly, fuck off. You don't know that. You don't fucking know that. And I will beat this drum until he proves otherwise. So we'll do that. The Empire Strikes Back. Not Roman Anthony. More so Lila. Now I don't know. Leah. I think it's Leah. The sister. That's on the tracks. I'm going to tell you why that big three, the Red Sox big three, is about to disappoint you very quickly. And Alex Cora has a lot to do with that. Stephon Diggs. He spoke. Let's see what he had to say about that little pink powder. The Celtics rumors, as Bobby mentioned. We got some Bruins talk in here. We've got 10 questions from a guy named Rob. Simplest minds of the week. Big show. But again, as always, stick around right now. After the opening, we're going to talk to Mahlon Williams, fan favorite. Welcome to the show. Apparently, the Celtics are dumb front-running pussies. This is the same team they have been for 4 years running.
Well, my worst nightmare came true. Missoula and Mayo are friends. What the fuck? Apparently they've known each other since Virginia. They have these docking sessions where they talk about ball and managing people.
I'm on vacation. I'm going to quay all these. I'm going to fucking watch them this week.
Do you say quay?
Is it not quay?
It's Q. It's Q. It's Q-U-E. You idiot.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest for the evening, as I mentioned, the season 2 episode winner of episode 7, Pros vs. Joes, Mahlon Williams. How are you, my friend?
Uh-oh. You froze again?
Can you hear us?
We may have technical difficulties. All I wanted was the reaction to the cut up. The cut up Pros vs. Joes highlights from Mahlon Williams. Of course, you two remember the show, Pros vs. Joes.
Oh, absolutely. It was a great
absolutely.
show. Because you always thought that the guys that were like retired and junk now, you're like, oh, I could beat them. And then you see them playing average people and you're like, oh, shit, they still got it.
Yeah. This episode in particular chronicled Wade Boggs, classic Red Sox enemy. And the three guys from Boston, including Mahlon, who was by far the best athlete of the 3 Joes that were on that show. There was a decent long-haired white guy that kind of looked like a fat Jesus. Had a decent arm. He looked like a decent baseball player. Mahlon dominated these guys. We'll see if we can get him.
All right. God,
There we are.
Oh, technology, man. You gotta love it.
dude, listen, I'm telling you, man, it changes so fast. I feel like I'm still on the 14.4 dial-up in this house, and I got like the fastest internet supposedly. So we'll see. I'll get it.
We'll beep this out. Comcast.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's a two-parter. So I had Comcast and I had like the fastest, but I'm on the one block, even though Verizon Fios came to Boston in my neighborhood first. The entire town in West Roxbury got connected except my block because they didn't have access to the pole that was behind my house. So I had to fight and lobby for it. So they finally hooked it up, but for whatever reason, I don't have such a great connection, even though I pay for it.
You got an old school black box then. You got to run some wires.
Yeah, I
down the
know,
street.
dude. I need like a 14-year-old geek to come out here and hook it up for me.
Exactly. Yeah,
There you
we
go.
hear you on that one, Mahlon. Well, look, I don't know if you got a chance to see the opening, but let me just ask you the question off the top, and we can dive into it or not.
Sure.
Was it in your career, which is illustrious at this point, very successful? How hard was it not to consider it your peak after the win on Pros vs. Joes season 2, episod 7?
Oh, dude. I don't know if you saw the episode. It's on Apple. It's on
I bought it today. I watched the whole thing.
Dude, it's hilarious. Listen, so that's actually what got me into this whole thing to begin with, because I was on 2 episodes and I almost won the whole season, which would have been great because that was the year that you got like the winner got tickets for 2 to like every major championship. And so that was when the Celtics on the 08 run, the Red Sox were in it. It was everybody was winning at that point. And I had an opportunity to do it. But anyway, the long and short of it was that it was the most fun I've ever had. And after being on that episode, or those 2 episodes, a buddy of mine convinced me to start a t-shirt company, which I had no idea what the hell I was doing. You might as well say, let's start a coffee company, because why not? But we did it and we figured it out, and here we are.
And here we are. And anybody that's coming in later, we had technical difficulties there. We're with Mahlon Williams, founder and CCO of Fan Favorite, or a long time known as I Love Boston, Boston Sports Apparel. Widely considered the most popular creative apparel brand in New England, if not Boston. And
Thank you.
Everybody listening probably has at least one piece of that apparel. So no, thank you for putting it all out there over the years.
Yeah.
Stuff is awesome.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to do my part. That's all.
So we got a couple questions for you. We can get into that. Obviously, big sports fan. We want to kind of get your gist on the state of the union, if you would, in Boston, which is not what it used to be. When you were coming up, way to pick a time to out some merch, man.
Absolutely. And it's we had some ups and downs, and the beautiful part about what we do over here is that we become very cordial with a lot of legends that have played here in Boston. When you get phone calls from Tom Brady Sr., just checking in, or you get, an occasional email or a call from Robert Kraft, saying, I love your stuff. I would love to help you out. And, and it's great, and so we've been able to, foster some very good relationships with some of these players. And it all started with Brian Scalabrine, which is kind of crazy. But Scal was kind of the genesis of our success. And back in 2008, in that season, everybody was rushing to create product for the big three: Garnett, Pierce, and Allen. And I was like, listen, it's a crowded market. Let's go with the tall redhead guy at the end of the bench, the white dude.
I'm surprised you were willing to work with Scal as a well-known pro athlete who likes to crush regular folks in basketball games. I'm surprised you were able to do that.
Yeah, that was actually before he started challenging the everyday guy off the street. But this was when nobody was really paying too much attention to Scal, and
that's when he knew his place.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, what we did with him back in 2008 was crazy, because he sent somebody from the team out to the street, because the only place we were selling our product was outside the stadiums. And so he sent somebody out there. He wanted to buy, I think it was like 50 shirts or something crazy. And we were like, we thought we had just won the lottery. We were like, we made it, dude, we made it, and he was such a cool dude. And, he was actually the first athlete that we booked to come out and meet fans in our store when we had a store out in Legacy Place in Dedham. And the line was like around, it was crazy. And, and that's the best part of what we do, is when we're able to bring fans and players together in an atmosphere where it's not very transactional. It's really about just enjoying being a fan of the sport, a fan of the player, and the players, really don't have to make it. The business part of it doesn't get in the way,
Yeah.
So that's been great.
So obviously you had great success with the teams winning championships, but now 3 out of the 4 teams blow. How's the creative flow going now with the company?
Well, I always tell people that, we sell hope. And at the end of the day, before the first game of the season, everybody's undefeated. So, you got to hit them early. And then what you do is you hope and pray that, there's that somebody emerges. The thing is that even if you have a team that is very successful, but is unlikable, like the Celtic team, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Not right now. No, right now. Come on. That's,
Right.
I mean, listen, we feel some kind of way because, I'll tell you this, is that outside of Tom Brady deciding to go to Tampa, Jason Tatum tearing his Achilles, I think, is probably the most significant instant moment in the last 10 years, because everything with this franchise just changed on a dime. We went from a team that could have back-to-back success and then make a hard decision in the offseason to, like, listen, do we just destroy and rebuild? Do we try to, see if we can make a couple of moves and be contenders again next year? The Celtics were the bright spot. And it's like right now it's very, very much up in the air. So
Bobby would disagree with you because he has had a vendetta against Joe Mazzulla for quite a long time. But I'm with you. As soon as that Achilles went down, now look, I think that they were going to be forced with some difficult decisions, which they still are, outside of the Tatum injury and outside of the salary. I'd like to get your opinion on this. Didn't this year prove to a lot of people that they have to change the way they play basketball a little bit? They doubled down on the 3-point
and that's
attempt rate, and it bit them. They shot themselves out of game 1 and game 2, and they were on their way to lose the Knicks, whether Tatum was getting hurt or not, I think. So
here's the thing, is that the game of basketball has changed a lot in terms of the way people play it. But the things that have always worked, we got away from. And I'm from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So, when it comes to like just analyzing the game and analyzing the X's and O's part of it, that's something that I love doing because I was a bad player on a very good team. And so I had a lot of time to sit and watch. And then there you go. So that's why, I can immediately identify, absolutely. And so it became an opportunity for me to just, and I get frustrated because as I'm watching the way the game is being played now, the game of basketball is very beautiful when it's played well. And it's a very simple game. And I think that when you have a team that has the capabilities of being a deadly threat from 3-pointer, you tend to you become very complacent. And I think that's what hurt us more than anything. And they got complacent with what they do best, and they forgot to do or how to adapt to when teams want to try to take that away from you. The solution is not just shooting more threes and playing a numbers game. And that's one way to look at it. But, we didn't play with a sense of urgency. And that's what bothered me. I equate it to Rocky 3. We became the wine and cheese crowd, and we didn't have that eye. And I looked at the teams that are in it now, and I'm like, there's no way in hell we would have won. We wouldn't have beat Indiana. Absolutely not. These guys they're too hungry. And we probably wouldn't have beat OKC if we made it into the finals. And I knew we were off to a bad start when Porzingis started the season hurt, because last year before the season started, when they got Porzingis, I was like, listen, this team on paper is better than the '86 Celtic team, and I revere that team. I love the team, and I'm like, on paper, these guys, where's the lie? These these guys are beating them. And then when I knew they were going to win the season before the season even started.
Well, Porzingis made them play a different way because he was so efficient and dominant on that high post that they made them run it through him so often and get guys in different positions and get open easy shots. And when he went down, it just felt like the Tatum show too often from 36 feet away.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been calling for years. I said, can you imagine how good and efficient Jaden Tatum would be if he just got a little bit of a back to the basket game on the block somewhere?
Yeah,
you're not double team and dump for a two. Like, can they? They're big brained over there. Brad Stevens, the best basketball brain I've seen in a long time. Like, how do they miss that? Put this kid on the block.
And that's the thing, is that when they brought in Sam Cassell, because I was so frustrated, I was yelling at the screen at Tatum. And my one of my good friends from college was swearing to me that Tatum is the future. He's the guy. And I'm like, listen, man, I've been watching this team for a long time, and since the bubble, I was like, Jaylen Brown is the better player. He plays off 2 feet. He's got much better moves. If you look at the moves that Kobe had, his go-to moves, Jaylen Brown has all of that. He's much more athletic than Tatum. Tatum has way more potential, but what good is it if you don't use it? And I'm like, what was frustrating for me is watching Tatum, and this is going back 3 years, and I will say that Tatum has changed his game a lot this past year. But when I think we were playing Indiana, and he's posting up, I think it was Neymar on the but he's posting a guy up on the 3-point line with his back, back to the basket. He'll start off on the block, and then he gets pushed out by a much smaller guy. And then he gets the ball after posting up on the 3-point line and then takes a bad shot. And I'm like, he doesn't have a mid-range game. He has either he's going all the way to the cup or he's going to do a step back 3. So if you're a defender, it's a lot easier to play them. And the only reason why they beat Philadelphia when he had, I think, 51 or 54, is because that game 7, Doc Rivers went away from what they had been doing all series. What they were doing is they were leaving Embiid home and catching Tatum at the rim, forcing Tatum to put the ball on the floor because they knew he wasn't going to stop and pop. He was going to all the way to the cup, and then they were challenging him at the cup. And then he'd take a bad shot, and then, he's throwing his hands up looking for a call, and, refs aren't going to bail you out on a game 7.
Yeah.
So game 7, they didn't do that. And whenever Al Horford would run out to the wing, and B would follow him out there, and Tatum went crazy. So that was on Doc. But I think that yeah, I know. I mean, listen,
one of the greatest playoff coaches of all time.
I'm gonna play nice because I like Doc, and I think that I think he's had his fair share of challenges. Much like Mazzulla.
Doc should be sending KG like a bouquet of flowers every other week without that championship.
But going back to your point about Mazzulla, and listen, I felt the same way. I think he got out coached this year. I think that there is a place for what Mazzulla has, and I think that you just have to give him a little bit of time to learn the X's and O's a little bit more, because what he has, a coach like Brad Stevens has got the science of the game down, but he can't connect with the players, which is why when they got rid of Ime, he was like, I am not trying to go back on the bench because these guys aren't going to listen to me. I'm a middle of the country white dude that never really played at a high level, and I just don't have that connection with the players like that. And Mazzulla, I think, is the right guy. I think that he just needs to learn the game a little bit more, and that'll come with time. But some of the stuff that the faux pas that he did make, I think everybody and their mother was like, "Listen, dude, call a timeout. At what point do you let this thing
Right.
just, get away?" But that's being arrogant. When when you have that mentality, you got yourself into it, get yourself out of it. What good is it if you end up losing the series because you're trying to make a point?
Bobby,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on Joe Mazzulla?
That he doesn't. He's never held a whiteboard once on a basketball. I'm not sure he understands how to call a play. They basically run the same thing regardless over and over and over again, and they don't. He doesn't have a feel for anything that the team is doing as far as from a player standpoint. He just has them run their system, and that's it. He's kind of missing 2 out of the 3 things that you need as a coach. He doesn't have his pulse on the team, and he can't game plan from game to game. He can run a system. He's like a good offensive assistant, but he isn't able to effectively manage the team on a day-to-day basis.
I think Mahlon had it too, though. I think he does connect to the players, and certainly Tatum. He's been his coach, personal coach for a number of years, and that's probably why he still has the job. But his in-game feel, he's 33 or something. Like he's only coached this team in the NBA for 3 seasons. I get that, but I'm excited for this year without Tatum, because if they don't, they're gonna have to adjust. And he's gonna have to learn how to coach a different style of basketball. If they just continue to do what they're doing, he won't have a job. They're gonna blow him out because he's not.
No, you're right.
He's going to have.
You're absolutely right. I mean, listen, when you have the studs that you had, it's easy to just kind of take your hand off the wheel and let the self-driving car get you there, But when you have, like, if you look at the job that Ime is doing out in Houston, it's unfortunate that he had the situation that he had here in Boston, because I think he is a dynamite coach, and I think he's going to have a bright future. And
do you think he regrets it? Like in the moment, probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
1 second.
And we still don't even really know what happened or who it happened to. But I mean, we know a little bit. But I think that
a little bit. It went from the entire female roster to like one big wig female, and then
So it's one of those things. And I know some guys on the team. I just don't even ask questions, because you don't want to get to just kind of pretend like it didn't happen. But I will tell you this: is that 2 years ago I was saying that Joe Mazzulla's best option was playing 2 bigs, because. And he didn't do it at all until this past year. He started playing 2 bigs. And I'm like, I don't know why we didn't do that a lot sooner, because it makes this much more difficult. And if you look at what the way teams in the league reacted to when Golden State started playing small ball and shooting up the volume 3s that they did, all the teams in the league started adjusting. They started going to a roster where they had guys that could stretch the floor, and they didn't really have any bigs at that point that could consistently do it. So they had the biggest guy they would play with like 6'8", so they had a team of pretty much wing players, playing all 5 positions. And I think what's happening is that a lot of the guys a lot of the teams started adjusting to the way the Celtics were playing, and started to, try to get big guys that could actually shoot from outside or be a threat out that way. 7-footers aren't that easy to come by. So I think you're going to see the style of play change. I think that the Celtics at all costs have to do whatever they need to do to keep Luke Cornett, because
you don't hear that's a hot take. You don't hear that.
Yeah, you don't hear that every day.
Selling out for the old Cornett monster.
Listen, man, I've been a fan of Luke. So this is crazy. I'll tell you something. I'll let you see how the sausage is made. So obviously we had some success with Peyton Pritchard, and we knew that he was going to be a guy that was just hungry. He was going to get an opportunity. We didn't realize that he was just going to go bananas the way that he did. But the only reason we ran at Pritchard is because the person that we really wanted to do that with was Luke Cornett, and we couldn't get any love from his agency.
No.
And we were like, because here's the thing is that, and I like Rob Williams, but we know that Rob Williams has had a history with injury, and we know Rob, and we've done collaborations with him. But when I saw Luke play the first time, I was like, listen, this guy is fundamentally sound. He plays within himself. He's got great instincts. He's quick off his feet. around the rim. He doesn't mind getting dunked on. So a lot of times when you have a guy who's a marquee player who's getting paid big bucks, they don't want to end up on a poster, so that affects the way that they play. They play timid because it's not very cool getting dunked on. But he takes it as a challenge. And I thought he's goofy, and I called him Scal 2.0 because I was like, the guy didn't
That's right.
take himself too seriously. And this was 2 years ago. And we've been chasing him ever since, and it just never really happened.
He needs
So
to jump on that because Luke Cornett is Scalabrine, and we're gonna
Without question.
take a little bit racial here, but it's Boston. A goofy white guy off the end of the bench that hustles and does all the dirty work. That's Boston. Like
But
they
he
will-
is a great. Listen, I'm not gonna say he's Kevin Garnett. I'm not gonna be that crazy, but he is a phenomenal role player. And if he was on a team like the Lakers, he's starting and he's getting major minutes, and he's gonna give you 15 points a night, 14, 15 points a night, and 8, 9 rebounds. But he'll be
I think so.
consistent.
He has those defensive laps. Like he had his Kelly Olynyk night. What was it, game 3 or 4 against the Knicks, where he just dominated for like 7 minutes straight. He had like 5 blocks and
Yep.
all these putbacks. Yeah, he has that potential in him. But in terms of like, and let me take a second just to toot your horn a little bit for you here. So what you mentioned Peyton Pritchard, and you've got this awesome Peyton Pritchard collection on fanfavorite.com. You can go sweatshirts, t-shirts, the Pritch Please, all that is where you can find it. And that's kind of what you're alluding to. And like, you're right. The lurch, what a
Yeah.
well of unbelievable creativity opportunities he would be.
Oh,
So
that'd be
I
endless.
understand why
That'd be
I
endless,
understand now why you think the Celtics absolutely need to resign.
Yeah, listen,
You're looking like a money pot.
listen. You need something to grab onto, man, and that's he's the guy. He's that dude. But
I hear you.
yeah, I
Let
think
me switch
yeah.
gears real quick because I don't want to keep you too long. I want to get just to the other teams in town, or at least the Pats. I'm beating this drum because nobody else is, and I don't totally believe it or agree with it. But let me just ask the question directly: what's your confidence in Drake May?
I got to tell you,
Enough
no,
said.
no,
We can
no,
end
hold
there.
on. Listen, wait a second. Hold on. Now, I'm a Carolina dude. I'm a UNC guy.
Shit.
I'm from Chapel Hill. However,
Scratch that question. What do you think of Jordan Hudson?
okay. So actually, listen, I was just texting. Listen, I know Jordan.
I'm fucking with
So-
you. Say whatever. You
Oh,
want to
wait. You know Jordan. Nope. Continue.
Listen, I know Jordan and I know Bill, and so I'm gonna play nice. First of all, I'm not on social media as much as some of you guys might be, and I see some stuff here and there. In person, she is a sweet girl, and she is nothing like the way that she comes off at times on social media. And I think that, I think that it's unfortunate that she has somehow become the focus of the attention. And but she is really a sweet girl, and it's interesting when I talk to her. So I went to Belichick. Belichick got inducted into his high school Hall of Fame back in November, and he had 3.
I'm so.
I'm sorry.
November of 2024, Bill Belichick got inducted into his high school Hall of Fame.
He got inducted into his high school Hall of Fame. It was
Years later.
full lacrosse.
Oh,
And so they were honoring legends. I think the Hall of Fame ceremony they have there was relatively new, and they invited him. They didn't think he was going to come, and he came, and he had 3 VIP tickets, and I was one of them. And it's not because me and Bill are like the best of friends, but we have a very close mutual friend who has over the last 8 years, been gradually, kind of pulling me into the Bill circle, and I've had the pleasure of doing some work for Bill and doing some commission stuff for him and his family, and getting to know his kids, and and it's very cool. And the fact that he went to Chapel Hill, they announced that they were talking with Bill the week after I was with him, and I was like, "There's no way. Come on, he would have said something." I was just with him, and I'm sitting right next to Jordan at the table, and I'm like, Bill would have said something, And I will say that I do have the very first autograph of Bill Belichick on a Hall of Fame banquet brochure that was at like a Holiday Inn in Maryland. But she's a very sweet girl, and I wish them the best, and I love the fact that they're in Chapel Hill, and because now I have an excuse to go down there a little bit more
I think they
this
do
was-
well. I think it's a better story if he does well. I think it's a better story if he gets an opportunity for the NFL. Yeah, she has not painted herself in the best of light, or the media has not, and that's taken hold of it all. But
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Bill was very contentious with the media, and this is an opportunity for them to try to
Get back at him.
get back at him. But she is a very sweet girl, and Bill seems genuinely happy. And I went down and saw him a couple of months ago for the Duke UNC basketball game, and Drake May was in the house, and I was trying to make my way around the stadium because he was on the other side from where I was. And the crazy thing is that if you ever want to meet Drake May or meet any of these UNC guys that won championships and that were great, go to a UNC game, because when you go to a school where Michael Jordan went, everybody else is kind of like, and so no one makes a big deal about anybody else.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to make my way to the other side to catch him, but unfortunately I didn't. But I think that he's going to be very successful because, first of all, he's a very high character guy, and he's a good dude. And so I think that he's a very solid quarterback. I will tell you this: the last number 10 in New England, I got burned by, and I think we all did.
Mhm.
And
I don't remember that.
I knew there was a problem. Listen, so here's the part that you don't know is that I knew there was going to be a problem when I was having conversations with his agent about doing something with Mac, and then his agent wasn't the easiest guy to work with and was a little bit full of himself, and but agents have to fight for their guy, and I get all of that. But he said some things that that didn't really rub me the right way. We had a shirt at the time that was Massachusetts. He sent me a cease and desist and was like, and was trying to, hang me over the balcony and empty my pockets over something crazy in the middle of a negotiation. And he was like, listen, his parents are both attorneys. They looked at it and they were like, listen, they're coming after you if you don't do it. And I was like, listen, here, give them my number and bring it on. I mean, if this is the game you want to play, I can promise you, because I can be the biggest asshole on the planet if I feel like you're. I mean, listen, I'm just, I'm being real, and I just felt like, and then some of the other stuff that that kind of happened gave me the impression that he was, he was just a pampered kid that couldn't handle adversity.
And you were right.
But I will tell you, listen,
That tracks.
I'm gonna tell you this about Drake. Drake comes from good stock. His whole family, they're all UNC people, and they're all sports people from the top to the bottom. And I've talked to people. My son goes to Babson, and some of their alumni, and he plays rugby, and so some of the alumni are from that area, and they grew up with Drake's parents, and they know the whole family. And I'm just, asking them questions. As soon as we knew we were going to draft them, I'm asking them questions about the family. And these guys are the salt of the earth. And I will tell you that I'm hoping to be able to announce something pretty soon. But I don't want to say too much. But
They call that a tease in the biz.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good tease. I like
So-
My
that.
wife went to
But-
bat. We'll have to connect there.
yeah, and he's gonna have a good season. And I just hope that we can, I'm torn because I love Mayo. I love the opportunity that he had. I don't feel like he got a fair shot. And I think that this, I'm gonna get social here for a second. I think that when you are an African American coach, it becomes very tough because you don't want to give the impression that you're contentious and you can't really work with people, like they said about Mark Jackson, like they said about Brian Flores down in Florida. But there's the caveat to that is that when you try to get along and trying to be the guy that can cooperate and be a team player, sometimes you get taken advantage of. And I just feel like he got a raw deal. And I think, some players that I knew on the team didn't really feel too good about that as well. But
I don't think that. I think that's a. I don't think anyone has necessarily disputed Gerard Mayo got put in a bad situation, but both can be true. He did poorly in a bad situation.
He didn't help himself. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and in order to move this franchise in the right direction, Kraft had to make that move. And on this show, when you boil it all back, really, the decision that Kraft made, and I know Bill's your boy, but the way that he put this franchise on that directory towards the last couple years of his career here too, they were just in a bad way, and they had to
Yeah,
make it.
no, I think
I think Gerard got railroaded, but he didn't do himself any favor.
no, and I think so he definitely didn't do himself any favors, and I think that you have a little bit longer leash and a little bit longer runway when you are not necessarily a coach who, you know, when you're a coach that kind of is part of that fits kind of the system and is part of the club, if you will. So it's hard to break into that fraternity, but I think he's gonna hopefully coach again somewhere someday. But I think that Vrabel, if you had to pick a guy, to chase down the Mayo era and the last couple of years of Bill being in New England, I think that he is the guy. And I think more than anything, a lot of the issues that at least when Bill was there, and I'm not speaking from any personal firsthand knowledge, but I think one of the issues was, there's too many chefs in the kitchen. If you're going to let the guy cook, you got to let the guy cook. You can't be trying to pull his strings from on high. And I think that's what Bill Parcells, the problems that he had with the ownership group and some of the other people in the front office. And I think that Bill pretty much knew that, listen, if you're going to be this hands-on, I need to go somewhere else. And Vrabel is that guy, because Vrabel's not playing that. Vrabel's like, listen, I'm doing it my way. I'm going to win and lose with my decisions, and I don't want any input. So I don't think it needs to be a collaboration. You need somebody who's going to be very decisive. And I think he's the right guy. So I'm excited to see what the team does. That's for sure. I don't know as many guys on the team as I did a few years ago, but
they blew them all out.
Yeah, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Those guys are gone. Yeah.
My last guy, Dietrich Wise and Dave Andrews, are no longer there. So those were good. Those were great guys. So
Andrews should be around for a little bit.
But I think Drake is. Listen, I think Drake is going to be. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback because at the end of the day, character really does matter. And and I hate to say this, but this Stephon Diggs thing. He says all the right things in the aftermath of what happened a few weeks ago. But whenever you got a player who makes big bucks and who's dating Cardi B, and again, it's not about Cardi B, but it could be a Cardi B type. When you're dating someone that's a public figure like that only cares about, or that cares as much about their image, and I just think the priorities aren't where you probably want them.
The next distraction is coming up. This isn't just the end. It's just waiting for the next one.
Just a matter of time.
We've taken a ton of your time. I think we could talk to you all night. This is the exact kind of thing we like to do, but we'll let you go here. I do have one last question though, just going back to Pros and Joes. Does Wade Boggs smell like drunk?
Listen, that dude. Listen, he's hilarious. Listen, Wade,
he's probably the best dude to hang out with. He's probably got a million stories and
dude. He was so. Those guys were so unbelievable, man. They were great. And the interesting thing is that even in the aftermath of the show, I've still stayed in contact with a few of them, and so it was great. He was in incredible shape too. He had been retired for a few years, and he was making some serious plays out there. So you got the block on Starks, and you took him to town in the corner on the 3-point. So at Amazon Prime, it's $1.99. There you go. It's worth the spend. It's hilarious. Listen, I will tell you this: episode 10 is very serious, and I was putting it on Tim Hardaway. So you got to watch that episode.
You were serious in episode 2. You were getting a little bit like, God, I'm not gonna let there was that scrawny little white kid that's he wasn't doing it. Somehow he got a couple of hits, and you're like, God damn, I'm gonna lose this motherfucker.
Listen, let me tell you something. And the sad part about it, and I'm gonna be serious here for a second, is that there's a realization that you come to when you are doing a show like that. And when you're throwing baseball and it looks like you're throwing with your left hand, but you're throwing with your dominant hand. And I was like, I realized I had never thrown a baseball in my adult life. And I was like, how does that even happen? And so it wasn't quite as bad as the way they made it look like, but damn, it was pretty damn bad.
It's worth the watch. It's worth the watch.
So listen, next, when I have some breaking news, and I will have some breaking news very soon, I want to break it here. Is that cool?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Anytime. You're welcome.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, listen, do a giveaway too, and we'll send some shirts out to your audience.
Yeah, let's connect on. We'll put that all out there, and we appreciate it very much. And
all right, thanks a lot, guys, for having me.
Everything, appreciate it.
Hey, good luck tomorrow too.
Yeah, give him hell in Rec League.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Dude, listen. All right.
God bless. Just don't get hurt.
Yeah, don't get
And,
hurt.
listen, after that Tatum, I'm playing very defensive. And the thing about it, it's the worst because I'm playing against guys that I should be just destroying. But, I'm just getting back into it. I hadn't picked up a basketball in like 12 years.
Finish them off.
When there's a little ball, just stay at the 3-point line. That's all you got to do.
Oh, dude, listen, I airballed a free throw, which is god awful. I've never done it in my entire life, So, but I'm getting it
Not
back.
everybody's Wade Boggs, man. They
Shoot every time you get the ball.
That's true. All right, listen. Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
Hey, thank
Bye
you.
now.
Appreciate you.
See you.
Later.
And there you go, Mahlon Williams. What a hoot! I'm sure he's got stories for days. We could have talked to him all night, but let him go do his thing. He's got a stretch for tomorrow night's Rex game, Rec basketball. So we'll let him give him that. Well, until then, we're going to throw it over to headlines with the obvious one.
This goes out to all our fans in LA. Hola, hola. Yo soy el obvio uno. Gordo lato confundo per conforgra vacolalas de portos mal más o menos.
Christ.
I can't do Spanish. You think I can do fucking Spanish?
No, I don't.
Keep going.
Hey, defensa bueno, un tipo, Christian Gonzalez, no mi primo. Hago la ball no cono no mano.
With your mom last night.
Yo tanto eso rompo el culo. Drake May, Lazo. That's lesbian. I know that one. Y de Bravo, Lanzo como Wii Sports, loco. Hey, números unos Jaguars CVan, como CV Schweister, Duggers, Yoi, Noi, Cora, I'm fat. We got that one.
Why don't you skip to the Bruins there, buddy?
Marco Sturm, Ojero, Javlo, Los Bruos, Primo, Entertando, El Mando, and NHL Prost. Don Sweeney, Dice Combe, Steam, Yo Dijo, Primo, Peta. I read good. This has been Headlines with the Obvious One. Stay thick, Boston. Where are we going, Richard? Where do you want to go?
Jesus Christ. Let's just go to the umpire.